locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke loves wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Welcome back to Duke Loves Wrestling. I am the Duke, and I'm joined here by my illustrious
That's right.
slacker of a co-host slash producer.
Can I just say how many letters I've gotten?
Oh my God!
Because I had very important things to do over the past couple of weeks, and I couldn't be. I made some amendments to my contract, so that I could do the things I needed to do. And how many letters? Bags of mail.
Give me a break.
About how the show is better with me.
Yeah.
And the show can't exist without me.
No, you know what?
And why is Duke even involved? Because we'd rather hear just the Boston Bad Boy solo. It's just the whole thing.
Something. I because you weren't here,
Yeah.
and you did the little thing that you did to the boards there.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do a workaround.
Yeah.
So I had Reed on the show.
Well, you know what it was? It's a challenge.
Well, the problem is it didn't sound as good
Well,
because I couldn't use my board.
No. It wasn't about the sound of the show. It was about the content of the show.
Give me a break.
The content.
Give me a
your
break.
content subpar.
No. Reed
Like
was excellent.
when we're listen, Reed is always excellent. You are like a boat anchor.
Oh, okay.
And you drag the content of the whole show down. And I came back as a mercy, as an act of mercy.
As a mercy.
As an act of mercy, I came back today.
Wow.
To help you out.
Well, listen, you came back at the right time, pal.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, because we got some big things going on in this nation right now. Okay, you know a hurricane's coming.
Yeah.
Jesus, this thing is going to be hitting the mid-south of the United States.
Yep.
It's going to be smashing us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, listen, I'm the Duke.
Yeah, you keep telling us.
Well, I have my connections.
Yeah, okay, allegedly.
Okay? If there's going to be a big news story in this country,
yeah, you got your finger on the pulse?
that's it.
Yeah.
The Duke's going to get an exclusive, Jack.
Oh, boy.
So here's what I did, all right? And for all you media outlets out there, take notes here, Jack. The Duke's going to show you how it's done. I got my person on the ground, okay? So we're going to go to live to Mrs. Hathaway, a.k.a. Kimberly. She's going to let us know what's really going on. Kimberly, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I am awesome. Listen, I know that you're having a tough time with this hurricane, so first things first, how's the wind out there?
The wind?
Yeah, the wind. We keep hearing about these 150, 200-mile-per-hour winds. What's going on your side there?
There is no wind.
What do you mean there is no wind? You're in North Carolina. The hurricane. What?
It's just like any other day.
Well,
it was 87 degrees and sunny.
Duke,
Well, hold on. How's the flooding? There's flooding. What are you talking? They talking about trillions of gallons of water and what have you. What about the flooding? Isn't it like up to your chest at this point?
No, it's dry. There's no rain.
Duke.
Well, hold on. We're supposed to be reporting on the hurricane, Kimberly. What the hell? What are you doing to me here? You're making me look bad. What's going on?
Well, I don't know. You were just like so excited to have somebody from North Carolina on your show. I didn't want to disappoint you.
Duke, do you actually don't understand that the hurricane hasn't made landfall yet? Are you operating? You think it's already happening? It hasn't hit land yet.
What are you talking about?
The hurricane is still out to sea. It's on its way in. It's going to hit like tomorrow night, tomorrow day,
So then why
into
do
the
we have
weekend.
24-hour news coverage about this hurricane?
Because that's the world we live in. What do you mean? Why? You mean to tell me that you got this poor girl on the phone so you could to give a hurricane report about a hurricane that hasn't happened yet?
All right, you know what? I don't want her on the phone anymore. If this is ridiculous.
Kim, I'm very sorry that he bothered you and called you.
I don't want her on the phone.
He does this unauthorized.
No.
I'm taking the phone away from him.
Useless. You had me on this. You let me. I told you that this was going to be an exclusive story for the show, and you just ruined the whole segment.
I just wanted to give a weather report. I didn't know you wanted like hurricane-specific details.
Unbelievable. Do you have anything else to say for yourself before we hang up the phone?
Just hi to all my friends on the Twitters.
On the Twitters.
On the Twitter. Hang up.
Duke, you do the Twitters, don't you?
I'm sick of this.
Do you have any friends on the Twitters, Duke?
You know what, Kimberly? That's enough for you. I'm done. I'm done.
Okay,
Wow.
fine.
Don't treat our guests like that.
No, how dare she? How dare she?
Don't you know how to vet a guest?
She big
Do you
time. No, she big time me. Okay, because
what do you have? Binders full of women that you vetted? Is that how it works? And that's where you pulled this out of?
Mitt Romney. Yeah. She told me that she was going to give me an on the ground report.
Yeah.
Okay?
You know what? Everybody wants to be on this show. Okay, they'll say anything to get on this show. It's your job to vet them. All right, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do because this is how badly this show does without me. I'm going to show you something in a minute.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
That is going to blow your mind. I'm going to vet a guest. Never mind vet a guest. I'm going to bring a guest on the show that you've never even thought that would come on this show.
Oh,
I'm going to bring a guest on this show, not even by telephone, in person. This guest is waiting right outside the door. Right. And your head is going to explode, my friend.
Whatever. Take a quick break. We'll be right back, folks. We're going to see what the heck the Boston Bad Boy's talking about.
Hey, this is Daniel Richards, the progressive liberal. I want you to remember to vote Democrat, turn this country around, continue listening to one of the best out there, the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast.
Okay, Boston Bad Boy, what was this nonsense you said right before the break there?
Well, you don't know how to book guests for the show, obviously. You fail week in and week out because you're not good at your job. So I, once again, went ahead and I did what needed to be done.
Give me a break.
I went out and I got, for this show, not for you, but for this show and for our listeners, a WWE Hall of Famer. In studio, he's being lowered through the ceiling right now. Please give a big welcome to Mr. Bob Backlund.
Whoa!
Thank you very much. It's great to be here, and let's get on with it.
Wow, there he is.
Let's have some more fun.
The all-American boy, Bob Backlund. Jeez.
I just got done eating the best steak I've had in a long, long time, and it's only about 4, 5, 6 blocks from here.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
You see that? But you let Bob Backlund into the secret location.
Absolutely, because a man like Bob, he gets the keys.
All right, well, first of all, Bob, please don't put me in the chicken wing, okay? I respect you and I appreciate you 100%, so I don't want any problems here, all right? Now, we saw you recently on WWE TV. You had a program with Darren Young. So you got to level with me here, Bob, because you were around for over 30 years. How the heck did you convince the WWE to get you back on TV in your 60s?
Well, you know what? It's all about timing. And Darren Young was looking for somebody to train him. And he was looking all over the country. And finally came up with, we're right here in Connecticut. Why haven't I asked Bob Backlund to be my life coach? And he came and asked me if I would mind being his life coach, and I said, sure would. You're a great man, and you're good for the business. And he went to Vince, and that's history.
Unbelievable. And it's funny, too, Bob, because you were inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2013, which was long overdue. I mean, here's a guy that you've wrestled all over the world. You've wrestled everybody. In fact, you chronicle your career in your latest book, Backlund, From All-American Boy to Professional Wrestling's World Champion. So let us know about this book that you did with Rob Miller there. What can fans expect when they pick this thing up?
They can expect a very good read, and they can expect to know me better than my brother does. Oh. That's how detailed it is. I suggest to a lot of the independent contractors in the wrestling business to use this book as a model for how the way the business should go and the people in it should be. It's all about wrestling. It's all about my life. And, my life, the first 15 years was a very disaster thing. I was on a fence and going to fall in the dirt and sink into it until one time I watched somebody do something that I didn't think anybody would ever be able to do, and the young man was my age. And after I saw him do that, I said, if he can do it, why can't I?
Wow.
And I went home, got 2 5-gallon pails, filled them up with cement, and put a pipe in between them. That's my new barbell. And my hero the year before, it was a wrestler in high school in Minnesota. He won the state tournament in his 10th grade year at 165 pounds. That's impossible. And you know what? That young man came to my high school, and he was in a tournament that we were having. And my coach said, this Kirk Anderson, he asked, is there anybody here that could maybe give him a little bit of a match? And my coach says, Bob Backlund's undefeated at the time, and maybe he could. When I found out, I was at 175, and they moved him up to wrestle me. And when I found out that I was going to wrestle him, I should have grabbed my mom's keys and ran out of Dodge. But you know what? After a year, I defeated my hero. And that was the spark.
And
that was a starting point.
And that carried you for your whole career there, huh?
That's still going on.
Wow. What gets you into wrestling early on? What gets you in from being a kid facing some hardships to saying, wrestling is an avenue? I know you were involved in football and in collegiate wrestling, but what's the spark? It takes a certain kind of, I think, person to say wrestling's the thing that does it for me.
The profession, I didn't watch it. My mom watched it more than I did. We couldn't leave the house until it was over, and if we were gone someplace at a big party, we'd have to go home anyway and get there before wrestling was over. But and I knew all about wrestling.
Right.
It was Vern Gagne and the AWA out in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I didn't idolize it or anything like that, but I met somebody in Fargo, North Dakota in 1973 or 1971. And the guy came up and said a few words, and he asked me, "Did you ever think about getting in the wrestling business?"
That's great.
And I said no. And I went out and played semi-pro football in Mundelein, Illinois, for the Bears. And I was driving home, and there was people in that program that had been there for 10 years and never got any place.
Sure.
So I that light come to head in my head. The wrestling business.
There you go.
Because of what this gentleman said in the YMCA in Fargo, North Dakota in 1971.
And who was that gentleman?
Superstar Billy Graham.
The man that you beat for the WWWF World Heavyweight Championship.
On February 20th of 1978.
I love the lead-in.
I'm standing in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
And I'm looking over at my opponent. He's got muscles all over. He's got this and that. He's got charisma. He's got the belt around his waist. And I'm standing there, and I'm taking that belt home with me that night around my waist. And it's the guy that in 1972 was trying to convince me maybe to go into business.
Well, I think it was right. I think we can say he was right.
He had a good eye for talent.
And at the time, when I was taking that from him, he was trying to talk Vince out of changing it, Vince McMahon Sr.
Mm-hmm.
But Vince McMahon give me his word, and he's a man of his word.
Wow.
Yeah, he didn't change his mind, and superstar Billy Graham was doing very well with the belt around his waist as far as house shows.
Mm.
Yeah, but he said no. I promised him, and
so Superstar didn't want to drop the belt because he was making a lot of money on the house shows.
Yeah, and he didn't. He looked at me and stuff, and the All-American boy, and
sure,
I'm this guy, But I just respected Vince Sr. for sticking with his word.
And how long did you hold the championship for?
6 years.
6 years. You hear that?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
6 years, the same champion.
Yeah.
In a day and age when people complain about Brock Lesnar being champion for a little over a year.
Well, I think the business, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we've gotten a short attention span business nowadays where they would develop talent and move them around and keep and build a character, build a following where you could have someone people enjoyed to see for 6 years instead of saying, well, we're bored already after 6 minutes.
Sure.
And so,
well, I got a little, how big of a repertoire did he have of moves in the ring? 2?
Good point.
Suplex City. I mean, how many times can you suplex somebody?
Right.
But compared to maybe the All-American boys' large repertoire of movers.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We haven't really talked about that much. We've talked about gimmicks. We've talked about stuff evolving over time. But again, the repertoire of moves.
Sure.
is something that's totally changed. You talk about the acrobatic stuff, the flippy stuff, but sort of has replaced an actual armament of moves that you can go in the ring with Bob Backlund, and you're getting a show because
you never had the same match twice.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
You never did the same match twice, Bob Backlund.
No, and
never.
It got so they would do it over and over and over, and that's all they knew. But my goal was to slowly draw the people into the match, slowly, that is,
right,
and control that. And listening to the people is very important, and it's pretty simple.
Do you think maybe nowadays, in some ways, matches are sort of overwritten, where the wrestlers themselves don't have enough leeway to listen to the crowd, feed off that? They're sort of they have these points they're going to hit, and it's time to go.
Absolutely, yeah, you're absolutely right, and I'm surprised that you pick up on that because we knew how we wanted to end the match, and then when we got in the ring, the people told us
how to get there,
how we were going to get there, and when we were going to get there. When you start out slow and I used to walk slower than I normally walk,
right?
Just to slow it down. And you want the people to be down as low as you can, and then you're going to get them a little excited. Then you're going to get them a little more excited, right. And then you're going to have a blow off. You're going to go home at the end.
That's
at
right.
the peak. At the peak when you got the people, everybody in the building cheering for you. Whew,
that's it.
We're out of there.
And that's the way it should go there.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think
but
that
when you do have a set program in your match, you can't do that. You can't change it. You got to keep it that way, and it gets old it would get old for me to do it over and over again.
Sure.
Because every match I had, I was excited to be in there to try to do something different.
Well, there's a creative process that you get to participate in.
It's like art,
Exactly right.
Yeah.
I think that again, over scripted potentially, we talk a lot about injuries happening seemingly a lot more frequently. Maybe it's that these talent can't develop those skills to think on their feet in the ring, and when something goes off script, it can get out of control pretty quickly. I would think. Injuries can happen very quickly if you're not very well versed in what to do to deal
they
with
may
it.
be pushing the guys too quick. It was 5 years from the time I got in the business to the time I got the championship, and I was in the ring enough where I had it down pretty pat.
Right.
I had a lot of hour matches with a lot of the greatest wrestlers in the business, and they were very kind to me, and they were very patient and stubborn. They wouldn't let get by with anything,
Sure.
And that's worth a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So talk to us a little bit about that first 5 years. What's the first match? What's the first pro wrestling match for you like? Do you remember it? Do you remember, how that felt to step in the ring as a pro for the first time?
Yeah, I remember that very well. And we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
And my first match, I was kind of thinking I was kind of cool, so I tried to jump over the top rope, and I spun around the rope.
That's something I would do.
And then,
embarrassing.
And then, geez, I wish I wouldn't have done that. So the next time I rolled under.
Yeah,
all learned your lesson. Yeah.
Anyway, and then later on, this was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
All right.
And I left home. I had a green Chevrolet Impala and a $20 bill. But anyway, at the end of that match, I got everything. I didn't know where the dressing room was, and I ended up in the English classroom.
Oh my God, that's funny.
No, I couldn't. I lost. Everything seemed upside down, and I just couldn't figure out where it was.
Were you hooked though? Like, were you after that? Were you just riding that adrenaline, going, "This is it. I'm where I'm supposed to be"?
No, I was going to do this. That's all it's to it. You got to start someplace. You got that first one in, and then hopefully the next one will be better.
It's all downhill from here.
I learned a lot of lessons. Two of them. One, don't jump over the top rope, and two, find something that you could say, okay, there's where
that's right. You're supposed to
locker
go
is.
Unbelievable. Yeah. We're talking to WWE Hall of Famer Bob Backlund, and now we can say author.
Author, yeah.
Bob Backlund. From All-American Boy to Professional Wrestling's World Champion. What a title for a book there. And when we talk about All-American Boy, what does that concept mean to you, Bob?
When I think of All-American Boy, I think of a person that lives by the golden rule. treat people how you want to be treated. And that's one of my rules in life. I respect everybody. We're all equal. We're all human beings. And we're out there to do good things. I kind of liked it when they started calling me the All-American Boy, and I think I lived it. Mm. And my life went so good, except for those first 15 years. But the changes that went through my life, it was a miracle. And I got a lot of people to thank for it. I have a lot of people up there. I love my world. I love this world, and I love every person on it.
Now, what's interesting about that is that for years, the WWF wanted to turn you into a heel because you were the All-American Boy, you were the babyface, you were the person that children could look up to, and you would say that during your promos. And you resisted turning heel because you didn't want your children to have to endure that. Tell us about that time before you actually decided that you were going to go that direction.
Well, it was in the 80s, in the middle 80s. Vince wanted me to turn into a bad guy and then have matches with Hogan. Mm. And I said, I can't do that. And he said, why? I said, I got a daughter that's going to start school next year, and I'm not going to do it. And he said, what about the money? I said, my family's more important than money. I'm not going to let her down. I'm not going to have her have big pains about people calling her father names and this and that in school. That's not going to happen. I don't care what the amount of money is.
But then years later, you came back to the WWF at the time, and you had a program with Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yes.
And some would say that you actually turned into a heel, but you did it the Bob Backlund way. Tell us about when you came back and how you were able to continue to be Bob Backlund while at the same time evoking boos from the fans.
Well, in the 80s, people were a certain way. In the 90s, they weren't in that certain way. They didn't want to hear about mom and dad and apple pie and doing the right stuff. Mm. They wanted to hear lying, cheating, and swearing. Mm. And I wasn't going to do that. And I went to Vince McMahon Jr., and I asked him if I could be a bad guy now. But let me be a bad guy by being good.
There you go.
And if you listen to my discourse, that means what I was saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
You're talking to a couple of Latin students here. You're all right.
The blank stares we gave him. You had to clarify for us.
Well, I looked at it. Yeah. Anyway, I said, I believed that I was trying to save the world. And people asked me if I went crazy then. It was because I was so serious about what I was trying to do. I wanted to fix it. I wanted to get the people back to that high level of integrity and honesty and working hard, taking care of your children, and basically treating people how you want to be treated. And I thought I was going crazy too at times. But you know what? I was doing a pretty important job. I even did a thing where, you know what? You should not throw garbage out of the window of your car. You're making a mess out of our country.
Yeah.
You know what? Every time you go to throw garbage out the window of your car, I want you to see my face.
That's great.
And I'm going to say, don't do that.
And they booed you for that.
Yeah.
And they booed you.
But you know what? People need to be told. There's garbage all over. I pick up as much garbage as I can, no matter where I'm at.
Wow.
I just don't like it.
So it's not a gimmick, this All-American Boy thing. This is really who Bob Backlund is.
Well, this goes to what we've talked about before on this show, and we've interviewed wrestlers before and talked about gimmicks. if a successful gimmick has to embody something within the person, you can't be something you're not, even if you are playing a character. You have to come. It has to come from somewhere.
You made a good call on it. That's 100%.
Because we've seen wrestlers who have an inauthentic gimmick.
Roman Reigns,
and it doesn't ring true. It doesn't connect with the audience. It doesn't feel right. So I mean, it was very smart, I think, to say, all right, I'm going to turn heel by being even more myself than I was before.
And I'm going to push it down your throat.
That's right. Exactly.
And people don't want it pushed down their throat. They don't want to hear about this work or that work. They,
That's amazing.
But I had a lot of fun doing it. You know what? If I wouldn't have done that, I probably wouldn't be here today.
What makes you say that, Buck?
I would be too shy. I'm not going to speak in front of this microphone. I'm too embarrassed.
Right.
I wouldn't do it. I was inducted to the Hall of Fame. They wanted to write a script. I said, you can't write a script. And I walked up to the mic and I got that close to the mic, about 2 inches, and I still didn't know what I was going to say.
Wow.
But I get compliments on my talk to this day.
People loved it. People absolutely loved it.
But it was all just from my heart.
Because it was you.
Yeah.
And that's what they loved about that speech, 2013, the WWE Hall of Fame. Of course.
You know, when it comes to that part of the business, the talking part of the business, the promo part of the business, on camera when you make it to pro, how did you approach that? I mean, because not everyone's necessarily a natural talker.
Everybody made a lot of fun of me in my interviews as a babyface. They said, he can't do a promo. But when I turned into a bad guy,
all of a sudden
it went away.
It was like,
whoa. It went away.
Right.
And there wasn't too many people that wanted to follow it.
Yeah.
And I ran for Congress in 2000.
Yeah.
And all the politicians were out there, and there was a group of people out there, and they figured they'd put me on first.
Sure.
Because I wouldn't know what to say. And they come up to me and says, "Now, what are we going to do now?"
Yeah. How do you follow an act like that?
Yeah. I was out, me shaking hands and grabbing them and stuff and having fun with them and then, this and that and raising heck kind of sort of. And it was good. And then it got like everyone was fired up.
Sure.
And then they said, "Oh, God, how, my God, why did you do that?"
Now, I know you were trained by some of the legends in the business. And even now, training as a wrestler concentrates on the physicality, the moves, especially from a safety aspect. When you were training, was there any training towards the on-mic stuff, towards the crowd stuff, towards that?
No.
It was all left up to you to kind of come up with that system.
You have to get used to something. Yes.
Right.
You have to do it yourself.
Dig deep and figure out what you're going to be.
Yes.
And how you're going to present, which is amazing.
And the thing that changed my ability to speak is becoming a bad guy. And it really fit.
It opened up a whole new world for you.
Yeah.
Really connected with the villain there, like Duke does occasionally.
But again, I didn't think that I was a bad guy though. So it was like being, You
just double down. You get to really
let me be bad by being good.
That's great.
What did your family feel about the Mr. Backlund character?
My daughter was very worried.
Oh no, she thought Dad lost it, huh?
No, not that so much. But there's a lot of crazy people out there, and they didn't want to be agitated.
Yep.
And I was getting into their under their skin maybe, and she was just worried about that. And
Speaking of which, we
sir, Dick Murdoch told me to keep my family out of the business. And I kept them as far away from the business as I could.
Why?
Because the business destroys marriages.
Wow.
And I've been married for 43 years.
Wow.
And I love my wife more now than ever.
That's great.
And you've been all over the world.
And I've been all over the world. And I always come home.
Yes, sir.
And our daughter is a wonderful person and fun to be around. And, it doesn't get any better than that for me as a person to have those people as my family.
WWE Hall of Famer Bob Backlund, he's really dropping some gems on us today.
The family is the most important unit on this earth. And I think the family has to be rebuilt and designed where they stay together and the mom and dad teach their children about success. about hard work, about treating people how you want to be treated, about smiling, about being happy. Have fun in your life. I have fun every day of my life. I never say I don't like that. I used to say that about spinach. Sorry. but I wanted to eat spinach, and I kept telling myself I love spinach, and now I eat it like popcorn. And you see these little messy things on my shirt? I was eating spinach, and one of the little pieces got on my neck here, and it got on my white shirt, and it bled through it. And I was sort of embarrassed about you guys seeing me like that, but
right.
I couldn't find a place to buy another white shirt.
Oh, not as crisp as that.
And I didn't have time to go home and get one and come back.
He's 3 times the size of us, so he's definitely been eating spinach.
That's right. That's right. He's Popeye.
No
you are the
that.
real Popeye.
Yeah.
You know, I put a post in Duke's Rasslin crew to our loyal listeners here, and they have a couple of questions for you, Bob. So I'm going to fire off a few listener-submitted questions. Let me see. Here's one from Katina Rice. How did you come up with the chicken wing finishing move?
The chicken wing has been in the business forever, and the crossface has been in the chicken wing forever. Chicken wing, crossface. Your arm is under his arm, and your hands are right there. I was the first one to grab my hands, having the crossface chicken wing. Having the chicken wing and the crossface together. It was just a matter of me clasping my hands.
And it's a heck of a finishing move, I'll tell you. I mean, no one's getting out of that.
Yeah, it can ache a little bit.
Especially
bit. Mike. We're gonna.
All right.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
Oh boy, I got to do some stretching before this.
Yeah. You know.
Well, yeah.
All right, so I got a question from Greg Coleman. He wants to know who you feel, Bob, is the best technical wrestler in the business today.
Technical wrestler today?
Yeah, in the modern, in the last couple of years, even.
I don't know the background of a lot of people.
Sure,
but at one time, I would have said the Iron Sheik was.
Oh wow,
he was in the Olympics in Mexico. He won a medal in the Olympics in wrestling.
Sure did.
And so that's the kind of guy that. He's going to probably be one of the tougher guys in the business.
Now, I know for a fact that you wrestled the Sheik at the Boston Garden back in the day.
Yes.
And you wrestled him many times.
Oh, yeah.
So that guy's a character, as we all know, as he makes it known to the whole world.
Yeah.
What's the experience working with him?
I liked to work with him because we fit together. He liked wrestling, and I went after him and wrestled him, and he'd come back, and, we had fun in the ring. It wasn't hard. It wasn't. One time the ring didn't show up, and they went out and got a wrestler and tournament, just a mat with the wrestling team at the school. It was at a high school, and the guys didn't like it, but Sheik and I went out there and we had fun.
Wow,
wow! Like that's thinking on your feet, right?
Iron Sheik is one of those guys that will badmouth anybody, but he never badmouths Bob Backlund.
You know those big clubs he used to have?
Yeah,
the Persian clubs.
Yeah.
Do you know those, Mike?
Yeah.
Anyway. There was one night on TV, he had those 2 things standing up and down, and he's challenging everybody in the United States to go out and do it. And nobody went out there. And they were hitting there. Time was passing.
Yeah.
I went out there, and I swung his clubs. And
that's why he respects you.
And he was shocked. And he jumped on me.
Yeah, he did.
One of the clubs went up in the air. One of the clubs went down. One hit me in the neck. And it was hard. Those things are heavy. But I did it, and he did respect that a lot. He gave me the clubs.
No kidding.
A couple months later, he said, "Here, have these."
Look at that.
I never thought anybody would be able to do that over here.
That's a story you're not going to get anywhere else.
I was going to say,
on this show,
that's a heck of a
we bring the Hall of Famers in here. Got another question, dude?
Yeah, we got another one here from Lenny Gross, and Lenny actually worked the Memphis territory as hitman Scott McKenzie. He said, "I know Bob made more money with the WWWF, but what did he feel about working in Florida for Eddie?" Talking about the legendary Eddie Graham.
Speaking of money, I might have made a lot more, but that's not too important. It's how much you save.
That's right.
Who cares how much you make if you don't have anything at the end of the year?
Absolutely.
Or if you put it up in your nose.
Yep.
And then you complain to somebody else they don't have any money.
That's a good point.
So I no matter where I was, I came out with a profit because I saved my dollars, and again, I had fun doing it. You know,
even in Florida for Eddie Graham. There,
yes.
what was Eddie Graham like as a promoter?
Eddie Graham treated me very well, and he did some things. He was very close with Vince Sr., and I'm sure he was on the phone quite a few times talking about finding the All-American boy. And I think at some point he probably said, he'd be the one. Mm. And matter of fact, I'd be almost positive of that. Yeah.
Well, we talked a little bit about Sheik. Who do you think and this is like the rapid fire question, who do you think in your career your favorite opponent, favorite person to work with?
I loved every match I went to. I couldn't wait to get up in the morning and go on the road. And I had some people that I really liked going on the ring. One of them was Don Morocco.
Oh yes, the Rock, the original Rock.
Don Morocco.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he was. He had a big repertoire of moves that he could make, and he could get me in a short arm scissor, and I could pick him up with one arm, and I like to do that because there's no way that he could help you in that move. It's you're doing the work, and
right.
So anyway, yeah, Sergeant Slaughter,
of course.
Don Morocco. We had a match in Philadelphia one afternoon for an hour, and then we went to the Capitol Center, or vice versa, the Capitol Center, and we had an hour there too, in an amount of like probably 8 hours.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about the territories and the traveling that you guys did when you're coming up. It's not the same anymore. I mean, with the consolidation of everything, it's almost as if I think personally it's a detriment to the art of wrestling, because the experience you get on the road, the people you learn from, the matches you have, those great stories they're not going to happen anymore. 30 years from now, is Roman Reigns going to tell us a cool story about doing 2 shows in an 8-hour span? It doesn't, and I think it goes back to that whole thing of having a repertoire, like these guys being able to learn and then learn by doing. They're not going to have that experience. And I think overall, you start to see some repetitive stuff. You start to see a focus on things that other than the purity of it.
Mike, learning the art of wrestling can't be done in the ring. You got to do it with the ring and the people. So you have to have another wrestler in there with you, showing you what you do. You could work out in a ring without the people forever and you'd never
You're
learn
not getting
it.
better.
You'll never learn it. You have to have that feeling that you got them, and you think you can get them a little more, and a little more,
right?
And then, like I say, have that peak in the match.
Well, it's like poker, right? You're not playing your opponent. You're playing their hand. You're playing the audience. You're not playing your opponent.
Yeah,
You're in the ring. What you're doing is interacting with them, the people around you, and you're playing that emotion and that energy.
Yep.
And I think with the overly scripted, tight TV, all that stuff that goes on now, where it's promo, it's like reality TV. You're losing that organic rhythm. You're losing that connection with the audience, and I think the WWE is going to have trouble with the audience moving forward. I think that some of the gimmicks that aren't clicking because their guys aren't able to make those connections.
Yeah. You'll down the road we'll see, but they're doing pretty well in the gates, and that's the bottom line.
Right.
Whatever they do in the ring, but the bottom line is people in seats.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they're diversifying a bit with the revenues they get from online streaming and all this other stuff that happens. But if that gate number starts to sway, that's when they're going to get worried. I mean, that's when they're going to have to go back to basics a little bit.
Yep. That's when it'll change. Yeah.
Right.
And,
Bob, if there was one thing that you want to be remembered by from your stellar career, what would it be? How do you want to be remembered historically?
That I treat people right. That I treat people right, and I usually told them the way it was, and just that I'm just a good person, and probably a good family man. That's good enough for me.
He didn't say a great wrestler. Didn't say a Hall of Fame champion. Said a good family man. He treated people right.
Well, that's the tougher thing. That's the tougher road, isn't it? That's to be good, to do good. It's harder than the work you do. That's commitment, I think. And
we were talking earlier. We were talking, and we said something about you can't buy respect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I want to talk about the book a little bit. What made you do the book? What said, I'm going to sit down?
I wanted to have a book. I actually had a book written in 1985.
Ooh.
And no publishing company would publish it. And the reason they had, because at the time there hadn't been any books written by any wrestlers, and they didn't want to take a chance.
Sure.
So I went on to my life, on and on and on, and thinking about, I always wanted to get a book out. And then the WWE, they have it where they kind of do the book things for the wrestlers, and
sure.
I didn't want to do that because I wanted to say the way it was. I didn't want to get in a situation where, like Bruno with the Bruno in the movie they were going to make, they changed something that wasn't really what happened. He stopped doing it. Anyway, and I thought, geez, I'm 60 years old and I haven't got a book out yet. And then I thought, I'm 65, don't have a book out yet. And then in 2009, I got an email from Rob Miller. He said I was his childhood hero as he was growing up. And he got a degree from Yale University, and he graduated as an attorney in Pennsylvania. And he wrote 2 other books. We set up a meeting, and he wanted to find out if I was really that person that was his idol. And I told him my life story, and he put it on paper.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
And Hot Rod, Rowdy Piper, God rest his soul.
He wrote the foreword, yeah.
Which is funny because you almost don't, at the book you go, oh, wow, and if that's not enough,
yeah.
we got a forward by the legend, another legend.
And he did a great job, and I was telling, but I introduced Piper to Rob Miller, and I said, Mr. Piper, you say it exactly the way it is. I don't want you to try to make me feel good or anything like that. If it happened that way, say it that way, and I'd leave. And I didn't know what he said or what Rob Miller wrote down, but when I read it, I cried 3 times.
Wow!
Because he was so kind. And
I feel like that's sort of the theme of the discussion tonight: authenticity. You know what I mean? It's sort of like authenticity in who you are. I think authenticity is better for wrestling as a business. It rings truer. Authenticity when your friends can say good things about you, and that is the truth. And I think that's incredibly impressive. And I think that's why you're a legend.
Well, I'm on a mission today. I'm on a mission, and it's the most important mission I've ever been on. And in that mission, I want to take over what Jacqueline was doing with a blender way back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and even in the part of the 90s. He did a lot of things, firing up people.
Yeah.
And I actually related to the book. He had a blender, but I related to the book where in the book I got energized when I was 15 years old by watching something. And I'm hoping that there's energy enough in that book where other people would maybe gain some spirit or learn something new that would help them get better in life. And I want to go around the country and do good things and inspire people of all ages. It's never too late to make a little difference. It's never too late to change your ways and go out there and, again, treat people how you want to be treated.
Hi, this is Earl Oliver from Sully's Vintage Wrestling.
This is Raj Geary with WrestlingInc.com.
This is Sean Reed, boxing writer and undercover low-key wrestling fan, and you're listening to Duke Loves Wrestling. Woo!
Man, what an awesome interview that was with Bob.
You're welcome.
Well,
You're welcome.
Yeah, you outdid yourself.
That's right,
good
as
job.
I always do.
Good job. Well, listen, since we're on this high here, I got to make sure that we keep this level going. So we're going to jump into.
Wait, no. We're not jumping into anything. You do not ride on the coattails of Mr. Bob Backlund. He ended with a very serious and a very important message, and you're not going to just steal his thunder. You're just going to follow. No, we're not. No one wants to hear what you have to say.
Are you kidding?
They heard Bob. Take it away, Tony.
Mr. Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Wrestling.